you see my screen?
Mhm.
Yep.
So then, yeah, this is what we're going to talk today about, the philosophy and methodology of sensorial education. Then we talk about the principles of sensorial activities, the 3 period lesson, nomenclature cards, nature journal. We talk a little bit about order, structure, and behavior, which of course in any kind of educational setting is also important. And we wrap up with human development and nature. Good. So, yeah, we start again with a little quote from Maria Montessori. We have a twofold aim in education. One is biological and the other is social. The biological objective is to assist the natural development of the individual. The social objective consists in preparing the individual for his environment. The development of the senses is of utmost importance on both counts because it precedes that of the higher intellectual faculties. Yeah, so I don't know how to explain that, but if you read Montessori, she's really a philosopher as well. And you can take a lot of her writing and apply it very generally to, yeah, for example, education, but much more sometimes. And the idea here is that she thinks you first need to develop sound senses to actually get to higher intellectual faculties. It's quite interesting, no? Because it also induces that people who have poor senses, even if they are considered to have a high intellect, they cannot really apply them as a complete holistic human being. Good. So what is sensorial education? It involves the refinement of the child's senses through repeated manipulation of specifically designed materials. Again, manipulation. So you do things with your hands. Huh? The materials isolate and provide concrete examples of abstract concepts that are perceived through the senses such as dimension, form, color, texture, sound, and scent. So in the early years, you really isolate. Again, it's about the definition of the learning aim. No, I would like the child to understand length.
Yeah.
Then you would probably have in the bag screws, for example, of different length or sticks of different length because you want the learning aim is to understand the concept of length.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you would do it with weight, so it's really about the definition of the learning aim. And the older they get, the more you could actually then mix those dimensions, no? And then it becomes also more complex. And you explain the vocabulary up front. So you provide the structure and vocabulary to express whatever kind of information is received through the senses. And in the end, this helps the child to classify and categorize the world around him, which is what we basically do in science, no? But not only in science. You will always do it if you want to describe something that you feel inside, that you perceive outside to, and you tell it to somebody else. You need vocabulary, otherwise you're stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it makes you actually, again, independent and autonomous, what was the goal of practical life. And the interesting thing is here that Montessori had this approach that we enter this world and we have no framework to really kind of articulate these impressions. So she gives you the foundation, the very basic tools through that education. And this is it's an empowering and enlightening understanding of education, I think. Whereas nowadays, we talked about this in the first session, no? Nowadays, I think children are very often seen as instruments within a society to achieve a collective goal of whatever, be a strong nation, be a successful nation, I don't know, increase the GDP.
I started to read A Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. Have you heard of this?
Sure.
Yeah. And it's very similar. I've not finished it, but the start of the book is like, the children are incubated in a lab and they all have their set where they're going to be in life before they've even before they
Yeah,
can.
so we are instrumentalized
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
but this is a very different approach now.
Mhm.
Yeah. And sensorial education should help also to develop concentration, a sense of order, and ultimately the intellect. No, I mean, I would even say this is really a preparation for, if you want, for a scientific career, but not only if you want to be an artist. No, you also need to know the colors. No, and a lot of artists are actually highly organized. No, because they have their sets of colors, the different tools. Otherwise, how can you do art? Um, yeah, good. So it's a starting point. The background to sensory education is actually medical, and we know that Montessori was not an educator in the start. No, she started as a doctor, and she built actually on a tradition of two French physicians. On the left side, we see Jean-Marc Gaspard Itard. So he was a physician. What is it, 18th, 19th century? And on the right side, we see Edouard Séguin, 19th century, and they both tried to help children with disabilities by stimulating their senses, and they used also special equipment. So those two doctors were actually working with very like wealthy families who had children with some learning deficiency, and they basically supported those children and tried to train them, like deaf children, blind children, and still tried to train them to achieve a certain intellectual capability. Um, and Montessori basically took this one step further and said, well, I mean, we also have children that are sort of socioeconomically deprived, those street children of early industrialization Rome, um, and we need to give them an environment and a framework so that they can maybe later on their own develop their intellectual faculties. And the first faculties that need to be trained through practical life and sensorial education are the senses. Yeah, I'm skipping here the question, um, but um, you see here disabilities now and then that Itard really started to isolate the senses and promoted discrimination with a material like sound cylinders. Um, the Seguin, he put this emphasis on educating the child, usually with the focus on the muscular and nervous system. So he was working with children that really had difficulties with fine and gross motor skills. Um, and then Montessori basically combined all this and then developed this standardized material, but also used the Casa dei Bambini as a laboratory to develop additional teaching material. So I think it's important to see that the entire educational um, sort of strategy comes out of dealing with children that have a disability. And I found this interesting because when I took the course, we were in the early years of seeing the negative effects of digital learning. And we definitely are now in a sort of a crisis. Um, and there are disabilities spreading because we have too much digital content in the educational environment. So the question here to think about is what are the practices and therapies developed by Itard, Seguin, and Montessori, which could be of current importance. Yeah, I think that says it all. No. Um, Yeah, I recently, not so recently, but like a few months ago, I read that Sweden, which was one of the countries to be really at the forefront of introducing digital tools into the curriculum, they kind of banning it now, and
Wow.
they go back to pencil and paper.
They did a big U-turn.
Hmm?
They did a big U-turn.
Big U-turn. Yeah. So I think this is quite interesting. On the other hand, I mean, and you mentioned that you mentioned yesterday, no, that the UK also
Yeah.
introduced a ban, no,
On social media.
social media ban
Under 16s.
under 16. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is now a big movement going to the other direction, and I think it's correct to do that. We need to really harness technology where it makes sense, and remove it where it doesn't. So, on the other hand, our course here is a good example of where technology is great. So you see here a slide. The book, I think it's 2021, Anxious Generation by the American social psychologist Jonathan Haidt. This one is interesting. Then I also have here, you see those in the slide, Irresistible, Adam Alter. And actually, I think the first book that was written about the impact of digital education is in English called Digital Dementia.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. That was already written in 2012, like 2 years after the iPhone was introduced, I think.
And this is still very relevant today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a German neurologist.
Mhm.
It's a German neurologist, and yeah, he basically writes about dropping intellectual capability. So maybe we close the door now. It's a bit too loud.
Yeah, Adam Alter, you see the TED Talk we watched?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we watched the other day a TED Talk by Adam Alter, who wrote Irresistible. I think the best book is actually the one by Adam Alter, because he has a very positive outlook, but really a very broad understanding of the impact of digital technology. And that considering that we evolve as human beings and go through development phases, that children are really super vulnerable to the digital environment. It is a great technology for adults, but for children, you need to use it as, a sword with two blades, I would say. No? Um, all right, good. So let's move forward. Um, yeah, so this is actually the news about Sweden. I have it here also. But the question is really what is going to happen in the close future? Is it really social media banned under 16? Can this really be implemented? No smartphones before high school? Yeah. What comes instead? No, I mean the the problem that I see here, school was also not so great before the iPhone or before smartphones and before all the technology that we use nowadays in schools. So maybe we kind of overlooking the real problem that we also need to change the way we run schools. No? Maybe it is really like Montessori thought about it as an empowerment rather than instrumentalizing students.
Mhm.
Good. Again, a quote from Adam Alter that tech is not inherently good or bad. The same is true for gamification. So I think there is a very, very genuine value in gamification and technology if it serves the purpose of really improving the human being, if you want to say so, no? And helping us, empowering us. Good. And to conclude this introduction on the philosophy and methodology of sensorial education and why it is so relevant nowadays, I just want to repeat again what we already talked about, but I think it's so important. It's good to repeat the six major ideas and the two guiding concepts because they do not only apply to practical life, they also apply to sensorial education. So, who would like to talk maybe about the two guiding concepts just to repeat them together? I already told you this is what you should remember from the course if it's nothing else. Just pick one of the eight circles that are here and share what you know with us.
The absorbent mind is about when the child is young, their mind is most like a sponge, so they can soak up a lot of information, and it's a good time to kind of capitalize. I don't know if that's the right word, but on their age to really kind of make them a healthy person, I guess. Healthy, more uh, experienced, I guess.
Yeah, so it is a very, very sensitive period where a lot can be learned. And what is the age gap? Do you remember?
Um, hmm,
So Montessori defined it as 3 to 6.
Yes.
okay,
Yeah, 3 to 6. That's the absorbent mind, right?
yeah.
Okay. Um, Somebody else? Come, let's go. Let's move a bit faster here. Pick a word and try.
Does this, can I ask, does this go through with the ages as well? Like as you go to the next one, they get older.
Come again. What?
Sorry,
No, 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 no,
just
no,
like
no,
when you get
no,
to
no, no, no,
62,
no.
this is the next age
No, the
group.
absorbent mind is one sensitive period, but there are many sensitive periods
Yeah, yeah, that bit.
throughout
Yeah,
life.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Does anybody want to talk about any of those yeah, guiding concepts, major ideas?
Can I jump?
Huh?
Can I jump?
Yeah, sure.
The full cycle of work is about basically when you're planning an activity or a learning lesson or something of the sort, you have to make sure that everything that you do, that you it's a bit redundant, but you do like a full circle. So if you start with something, introduce a concept, then go to the activity, I don't know, to put it into practice, then you have to finish the whole project. And then, for example, I think it has to do also with a 3 period lesson, for close the activity with a sharing circle, or come back to the concepts that you introduce at the beginning and then put into practice in the meantime, and then you can recap and have like the full circle.
Hmm.
That's what I would say.
Yeah, so the psychological foundation here is actually about satisfaction and independence, autonomy, but mostly about satisfaction. If you start halfway already, like especially in the absorbent mind period, if you don't complete an exercise, this establishes a sort of an attitude, no? You drop out, you don't finish, so it's really about perseverance, it's about satisfaction that you finish something off. And it also gives us, for the learning aim, actually a kind of a challenge, because we need to design activities that can be concluded. If it's too difficult, no, or if it's too long, then it's going to be too much for that age group or for that specific child. So, for example, your activity with nature names, yeah, I think it's a very low threshold, very nice, easy, and everybody should be able to finish it off. No,
Yeah,
don't leave halfway.
yeah,
And in our modern, very specialized working environments, we quite often, are in a kind of an assembly line situation where we actually don't understand anymore the full cycle of work, because we have a repetitive single activity, no, and don't understand anymore. So what is this entire meaning? What is this for? What I'm doing?
yeah,
And it creates actually within ourselves, a dissatisfaction at least, no?
yeah. That's very interesting, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, this Montessori understood this, that you need to build this attitude from very early on. Um, another one, prepared environment, easy. What is the prepared environment? We talked about it.
Is it like to have everything I need for whatever activity I'm gonna do in the environment, like to be fully prepared and like pick the environment itself that I'm gonna need that's suitable for the activity, indoor or outdoor. I have to prepare the place I'm gonna introduce to the kids. It's part of the activity, the place around them.
Right. Yeah, it is. But usually Montessori also focuses on a classroom. So I described the classroom in the Montessori school usually has one very large shelf where all the age appropriate learning material is, that the kids can usually, take themselves after they have been introduced to that material. You have the mats in a certain place. You have everything in a certain place. So there's order and structure. This is the prepared environment in a classroom. But like Omnia just said, if we go outdoors, it means something completely different. And I think the prepared environment outdoors, taken together with the liability issues that we have in our law-based societies, are the main obstacle that trained teachers with, public school teaching certificates don't go outdoors. They don't have the time to prepare the environment. Outdoors, it's completely different. No, if you need to prepare a park, you need to spend a couple of hours in that park to understand it and know it well. Know its dangers, its opportunities, its risks. Good, prepared environment. Thank you. Sensitive periods. What are the sensitive periods?
I'll explain it in a bit in the next couple of slides.
Yeah. So, in a nutshell,
I would say it's certain periods of the life of a child where they're more receptive to a specific type of stimulus. So there's also like a nice metaphor that I will also share later, but it's basically that, for example, when the child is thirsty, they would go first to the water than to, I don't know, to the TV or to a book. So a similar situation for the stimuli is like a stimuli. They're more receptive to a certain type of stimuli. So they're like, their mind is more focused in a way, let's say, to that type of stimulus.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So we have an oral phase. When we are very small, like within the first year of our lives, we actually explore everything through our mouth. And only then the manual phase starts. And when we become toddlers and start to walk around, we're still kind of not so sure on our feet. But we start with the pedal phase, I would say. And the sensitive periods that Montessori really observed and described, they go much more into detail. It's really super interesting. Good. We talked about practical life, that already. What is the control of error? What is it? How does she use it, and how is it being built?
Is it like
or used?
Yeah, it's almost like a guideline to get the children back on track if they are kind of off a bit.
Right, but is it the teacher telling them to get back on track?
They correct themselves. They find their own mistakes.
Right. Yeah. So this is very interesting, I think. She tried to design the activities, and this is also what we should apply for the outdoors. She did try to design the activities in a manner that the child detects itself that something has gone astray, and it needs to self-correct. So the control of error is usually built in the Montessori material. It's quite tricky. It's not so easy to actually repeat that now. But this is the idea of the control of error. And then we have the two guiding concepts, cosmic education and transformation normalization. I really think it's important to also highlight that again. Who remembers something about cosmic education? It's so relevant nowadays, in a world where we have been separated and alienated from nature. Cosmic education is putting us actually really back in touch with everything that is around us. It is about realignment with nature. It is showing that we are part of something larger. It's the scientists would probably say we are a superorganism. We are the beehive. But this is what she understands in cosmic education, and she usually starts actually always from the very big picture, and then zooms in to the more detailed part. So she explains always first a concept, and then she goes into the detail. What is transformation, normalization? I mean, it's good that we bring this now back also in sensorial education, because we mentioned that she built her work on Séguin and Itard, two French physicians who were working with children that had disabilities, right? But she was actually working with children who were physically fit, mostly, But still, she said, there was something off. And what was off was that those children were not able to concentrate calmly and focused. So the kids would be in the beginning in her classroom in the Casa dei Bambini. They would be all over the place. They were not able to concentrate. And then she observed that with almost all the children, something happened. After a while, when they were given purposeful tasks to fulfill, full cycle of work, yeah, that they would be calmer. They would calm down. And this process she called transformation normalization. And guys, I think again, this is so important to mention because I hear it almost every day. This is exactly the anxious generation that Jonathan Haidt describes. We have children that are being put on pharmaceuticals. No, it's not Ritalin. I mean, really pharmaceuticals and antidepressants to just calm them down. Yeah, because they are not normalized.
Yeah.
This is on a psychological level,
Yeah.
right? So I think what she described for those street children is happening again, but under different frame conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Good. With this introduction to sensorial education, I hand over to Adri.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you sum up the transformation normalization?
It is the objective of the educator or the facilitator to induce into children the state of flow.
Okay.
Do you know that there is this psychological
Yeah.
concept of flow?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a psychologist, a Hungarian American psychologist with a unpronounceable name. I have the book at home as well, but he coined this term of flow.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, in fMRI scans, we know that we have different brain waves.
Yeah.
No, and in the state of flow, we extremely calm, extremely focused. We even though we have a challenge, no.
Yeah.
We enjoy it and we
Yeah.
forget actually about the time. It's not like, oh, when is this over?
Yeah.
It is a state of flow.
Yeah. It was in the book, the Japanese philosophy book we were discussing.
Yeah, Ikigai.
Yeah. But like when something is not too hard but not too easy, it's like just right. You can kind of, when something gets too hard, then you start to maybe get out of the state of
Yeah, right. But I think actually in the state of flow, you can do really difficult, hard things, but you just keep going because you're focused.
Yeah.
And this is a super healthy. It should be a default state of mind for us.
Yeah.
But you only reach it if you are sort of in your element. No, so we are not always in the same element. No,
Yeah.
and I mean, of course, we are. We fall victim to distractions in our environment. I mean, if you're in a classroom and you're always being bullied by somebody in the classroom, or you have teachers that don't let you calm down, social media, there are so many reasons nowadays that you can be distracted, right? So I think in a nutshell, finding flow is a very good kind of way to describe it nowadays.
Yeah.
No problem. So we come back to the sensitive periods. I have talked a little bit about them already, but basically I'm gonna refresh. We talk about sensitive periods when we refer to these different periods that a child can have, maybe the person in general, where they're most receptive to one type of stimulus or stimuli. In this case, this is the metaphor I mentioned earlier that I actually like pretty much, because it says that it's like what would happen when a thirsty child seeks water instead of food or at all, in this case, for example. They're most receptive to one type of stimuli. And this is very useful actually, because if we know it, we can use it for the learning of process of the child. In the Montessori method, they identify like two main sensitive periods in the early age of the child. The first one is from age 0 to 3, basically the first 3 years. But in this case, the learning, let's say, the sensorial experiences, basically it's in an unconscious way. Meanwhile, in the second sensitive period, which goes from 3 to probably like 6. It's more like conscious. It's like what we know as the absorbent mind, that goes on the area. Okay, so that would be the main idea about the sensitive periods. If we take here, of course, we have to talk about the senses if we're talking about the sensitive periods. We all know the typical visual sense, sight, tactile sense, touch, the acoustic sense, the ears, let's say, or the olfactory, with the smell, or the gustatory with the taste. But there are more senses than that, actually. We have the thermic, which means basically sensing the temperature, the baric sense, which means feeling the pressure or the weight. The stereognostic, which is the one we mentioned at the beginning with the mystery box, basically identifying the forms. And the muscular or kinesthetic sense, basically notice the movement and the posture as well. And here you have a picture of the brain where you can see the different areas, let's say, in control of each and every one of those senses, which is also very interesting to know a bit of the anatomy and physiology in relation to these senses. Yes. No? Okay, I will continue. Then we're going to check a bit more each sense in specific, in particular. First, we have the sight, and of course, with every sense, we have as an organ or in some sort of system in our body, which can allow us to get this information from the outside. First, we have the sight, for which we use the eyes. And we have, in the Montessori method, let's say, we have a different material that we can implement or use to develop these senses. In the case, for example, for the sight, we have the cylinder blocks that we have here as well, the pin tower, bouncers, a lot of different material. What can we highlight while implementing this, while training this sense, or while doing activities in regard to this sense? Well, for example, with the sight, we can maybe mention the diameter, the height, the weight, the length, the area, the volume, or the composition. All of those qualities you can basically see, right? You can get information through your eyes. We also have the tactile sense with the hands. We can use touch boards, touch tables, or we can touch the boards, the tables, or even fabrics as well, because mainly what we're going to differentiate, let's say, or explore is the texture with this sense.
So maybe just one thing, like the material that you see in this third column, those are actually Montessori materials. You recognize it. If there are always capital letters at the beginning, this is how she showed that this is a standardized learning material that she developed. So the touch boards, the touch tables, the touch fabrics, this is Montessori material. We don't have it here, but we show you today a couple of Montessori material. And there are probably more than those, but those are examples.
And then, for example, for the thermic, the skin, for which we use the skin, we have the thermic tables, and we basically feel the temperature or explore the temperature. For the barics, well, we sense it with the nerves, and we have baric tables as well. We explore the weight. With this stereognostic, as we said before, for example, we have the mystery bag that you know already, and we basically explore the forms. Or maybe even the imagination, as you tried as well with the mystery bag. You have to imagine and explore and make an effort with your brain in that sense. For the auditory sense, we have the sound cylinders that we will also check today. And basically, we can explore the volume, the tone, or the pitch. There's a lot of things that can be done about the auditory sense. With the nose, also smelling bottles. I also designed my practical activity when I did the Homegrown course. It was also about the smells of nature. Let's say it was about this sense in particular, and we explored the smell. You can also do it with the gustatory, for which you use the tongue. You have the tasting bottles, for example, and basically, you explore the taste. And last but not least, we have the kinesthetic, for which you use the nerves and your muscles. And basically, you can try that with all materials and activity, because at the end you're gonna move them more or less depending on the activity, but you do it. Yes. So maybe shall I show them now, or well, maybe I can still talk to you a little bit more about these materials before I show it to you. Important for the sensory materials of the Montessori method. They are designed to fit young hands, of course. It's also important that we mentioned that they usually or must be aesthetically pleasing. They must fulfill specific educational tasks. They must materialize or constitute materialized abstractions. They have isolated properties, can be simple, can be more complex, depending, of course, on the one that we're going to use. They have, they must have a control of error. It's not really in the design in the Montessori method, and yeah, they have universal properties. Yeah, the control of error. Maybe I can.
Maybe no. I would say first do now the sound cylinders, huh? We see them already on the screen.
Yes. Okay. So I don't know, maybe I can. But I don't know, can I show it to you if I have shared? If I'm sharing, I think I cannot show it from the camera.
Ah, okay. Yeah, so then just stop sharing.
Ah, okay. 1 second. Yep. Okay, I think now you should be able to see it. Maybe quickly as well. Here we have the sound cylinders of the Montessori materials that we mentioned for the auditory sense, for which we say babies. I think these are two sets, right? I think there are different sets. Or no, they were using the same. No.
Well, so, I mean, this is
now, whoever of you who wants to try it first, you must use your auditory sense, and you must try to, let's say,
you must match the
pair
sound.
exactly match the sound.
Okay.
Patch pair the two cylinders that make the same sound. All right. You want to try first? From each exactly.
So you can only shake them like this, only top down, not like this.
Vertical.
Only vertical. Yeah. Okay. So you can confirm. Adri, do you remember how to
We have
confirm it?
control of error. I think yes.
Yeah, turn them around.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, you must.
Okay, so can you maybe show that? No, show it to them. Yeah, maybe you can.
This. Okay, if you see here.
This must be actually in the same color.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. There was a mistake, right? That the two in the centers, for example, are matched correctly. And you check with the color. That would be the control of error in this material. So yeah, the child can check for themselves.
Teddy and Omnia, was it okay for you to follow this exercise? Do you understand the concept? Okay.
I think so, yeah.
All right. Good. So the control of error is actually here very simple. It's just a color code, no?
Yeah.
I mean, this is something that you can apply actually to almost everything, no? That you have two matching colors. So that's a very simple way. Okay, good.
What?
So this was the sound cylinders, which is auditory sensorial activity. And then maybe you want to present already the next one?
Yes, but I don't know. Should I share again or just go directly?
Go ahead.
Directly, right? Or
I think you can show it directly and then explain afterwards the
Yeah.
control of error.
Yeah.
And Taran has something to do.
So we have normalize, maybe This is one. And we can try the two.
Yeah, so those are the so-called cylinder blocks, right?
Mm-hmm. We have the cylinder blocks here. Can you see them as well? They look the same from here, but they're not the same. You will see. And then with this type of material, you will see very well. I mean, yeah, a practical example of fancy control of error on material.
We talk about it afterwards. Just explore it yourself, the material. Usually, as an instructor, as a facilitator, you would clearly show the chart before. This is the presentation, and you would also give them the vocabulary. Yeah, but maybe for you to explore now, what is the learning aim here? What is really being trained? What is the learning aim? To differentiate what? Size, weight, and huh?
I have some size.
Same size. Yeah. So you have this.
Also, you have different sizes and different values. I have some there's like a radius, diameter, but I have different forms.
So here you would train a correlation between size and weight, yeah, or volume and weight. The same in your case, but here it is really about the changing circumference or diameter, and in your case it would be the length now, or the height. Yeah. So those blocks focus on something, yeah. And what is the control of error? What do you think is the control of error?
How would you know that you have not done the activity correctly?
For me, I have different depths for different days. So if I, for example, block it.
Right. So this is called inlet and inset. Yeah, she used this quite a lot. So you basically have the inset and the inlet, and it always needs to match now.
If they don't match, you know already that it's not working. So automatically it's like the control error.
Yeah. So there is also Montessori material for higher age groups. I mean, I had in my learning, my outdoor learning center in Shanghai, such inlets and insets for insects. So it's wooden shapes of insects, wooden shapes of leaves. It's really very nice, no? And you would take them all out, and then they have to put them back in. Yeah. Okay. Adri, you're sharing?
Yes, I'm gonna try again.
This is part of our set, of the set.
Yeah, so Montessori material is extremely expensive. And so what I did is I just bought starter kits. Yeah.
So here you see again the two blocks sets that we have shown. I think that now it's easier to understand the control of error once we have shown basically here with the material that basically this all the Montessori material has to have a control of error, a way for the child to discover if they're not doing it right, so they can try a different way until they get it right, basically, without the intervention of the teacher, which is the point. All right. Oh, okay. So sensorial activities. Yes, I think this would be. Yeah, I think this would be.
Yeah,
good.
yeah. So maybe just also to bridge the next chapter. If you think of a workshop where you have a lot of tools, no, so well-structured workshop, you have probably the shape of the pliers or the hammer on the wall. So every tool has a place, no? I mean, this concept really can extend into adult life. And I mean, you quite often have it in workshops exactly like that, no? Good. So then I share.
Stop here. Yeah.
Yeah. So sensory activities, the lesson must be presented in such a manner that the personality of the teacher shall disappear. So in early age groups, this is the way it should be actually done. According to the Montessori method, that the teacher is really rather in the background, and the children work with the material on their own. Good. The sensory activities that Maria Montessori developed, there were different types. So we saw the mystery bag in the beginning. When you have one mystery bag, you have single items in there. But if you work with two mystery bags and you have the identical items in there, you do an identical pairing. You take out two small cubes, two whatever rubber spheres. That's called identical pairing. And it is also a control of error built in already in the pairing now, because you need to find the same object. You have complementary pairing, where the items are not identical, but they complement each other. Yeah, this could be, for example, with the inset inlet. If you have the inlets for an ant, yeah, but the ant consists of, like, let's say 3 pairs, yeah, then you pair those complementary items. You have the reverse pairing now, which is done in the geometrical cabinet. I need to show that probably that's not so easy to explain. It's the other toolkit. So I hope you see what I have here. So these are our bodies, right? And with these bodies, they learn what is a quarter, what is a half, right? And the reverse pairing in this sense is that you have already two and you put them together to one, right? Partial pairing, sorting, grading, and then also memory exercises. I mean, those are the standardized kind of sensory activities that Montessori developed. Memory exercise 1 is that the child is required to remember the qualities of an object from a group of objects placed together on a mat or a table. For example, the cones. Yeah. And memory exercise 2 is that the child is required to remember qualities of an object from a group of objects scattered in one area or throughout the environment. So this is what she practiced. And I think, I mean, if you know the overview, you can apply it to also your kind of activity designs. The hand and the mind, we talked about the hand in practical life, and here we can talk a bit more about the cognitive background. So Montessori observed that between the ages 3 and 6, there is a sensitive period related to the hand. It is really this period where the child must touch everything possible to develop its senses better and understand the world more fully. The question for me is always, okay, if 3 to 6 is the focus about the hand, what is happening then after 6? Is it still the hand, or does something else come in? I think that the feet actually come in quite substantially, but it's exactly during that age group that we are usually then bound to the classroom.
I think sports are a good way to develop this problem when you get to that.
Yeah.
Like the hand-eye coordination.
Absolutely.
And like you say, it's good feet from feet.
So 2 more examples of Montessori material are the red rods and the pink tower. So here you see also very well that there's a clear learning aim. The red rods are developed to differentiate length. And they also include the decimal system. Now it's from 10 centimeters to 1 meter. So she also kind of includes mathematical skills. And the pink tower is about volume and size. Good. Well, and again about the hand. So the Montessori materials have been integrally designed to gradually introduce children to increasingly complex concepts. These concepts are conveyed to children not so much through the eyes and ears, but through the child's hand with repeated use of the material. Remember the Karate Kid thing, no? Cognition is born from manual movement. I found this extremely interesting because I grew up in an education environment where, apart from like maybe 2 hours a week crafting, there was nothing. Everything else was taught abstract through books. Good. What I added here on top of Maria Montessori's kind of anthropological pedagogy is that there are actually two French anthropologists who have observed more or less in the same era as Montessori the foundational background of the hand as a central tool for cultural development and social identity. So one was Marcel Mauss. He wrote in 1934 an essay, Techniques of the Body. And he came to the conclusion that the hand is the primary medium through which humans interact with the world and express their social identity. If you think about it, I mean, it seems to be sort of obvious, but if we learn cultural techniques and we go back before we had iPads and all these digital tools, every bioregion, every area had cultural techniques that were very specific for that. Some of them were overlapping, but it is basically what you learned and did with your hands that really defined you as belonging to a group, right? And the second anthropologist was this André Leroy-Gourhan. I don't know if I pronounce this correctly. He wrote a book called Gesture and Speech. And there he concluded that the hand acts on the environment while the face, speech communicates the meaning of that action. So also a deep meaning of how we use the hand. But what happens nowadays is that we use the hand less and less, right? Everything gets manufactured by robots and machines, and I don't know, it's done automatically somewhere far away. We don't repair a lot anymore because we buy new things. Now, what I shared before with the Swedish education system is that for the last 10, 15 years, we used more and more digital devices. We don't write anymore with the hand. So we get actually globally more and more similar now because we use digital devices. But what we do with the hand that differentiates us and creates a social identity, a cultural identity, becomes less and less. So I believe the future of education will be very much lying again into developing these manual techniques. All right. And there are these, how are they called? The brown bars. What kind of skills do you think are being, or what kind of learning aim is being taught here?
Is it to do with balance? Is it to do with balance?
No. I mean, you get them also like the red rods, but the red rods was about length, no?
Yeah. Counting?
No, it's not, because you always have 10, but I mean, of course you could use those for this, but it's again, volume, weight, size, right? And then, I mean, if you stack them, of course, you also include the gross motor skills, but it would be an indirect learning aim.
Yeah, okay.
Or indirect learning objective, actually.
Yeah.
Good. So I'm not going to go through the entire list, but you see that within all those sensorial activities, you have a lot of skills and concepts that can be conveyed. from simple to complex. You can provide self-control, body awareness, different forms of discrimination. I just want to draw your attention to this slide specifically. I wrote it here. This is great content for best practice design. So if you do a best practice on the ARC, in the pedagogy section, you can really get a lot of inspiration here from. So then let me go to the next slide. Yeah, summary of sensorial education. Sensorial education is important because, and now we do this again in this round. You want to start?
It takes advantage of the sensitive period of sense development.
Produces long-term benefits even after the period has passed.
Isolates the senses to promote greater concentration and discrimination.
Taylor, you want to continue?
It develops the senses through repetitive activities, and it is self-managed.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to continue all of it?
It progresses logically from the concern to the abstract.
From the
Sorry,
concrete.
Concrete, sorry. From the concrete to the abstract.
You want to continue?
Sorry, it provides a basis for orderly learning.
Lays the groundwork for an intellectual life and critical thinking by refining its senses.
Improves gross and, in particular, fine motor skills.
But no, not that.
I don't know, maybe Taylor and Omnia want to read one line each more, huh?
Okay.
Yeah.
It assists in early detection of disabilities or weaknesses in a child perspective.
The child's perception, yeah?
Perceptions.
It assists the natural development of the child, i.e. gives him a sense of identity and security within the learning environment and the environment at large.
Mm-hmm. So what I found very interesting here is if you really do this in a 3 to 6 year old age bracket and you let children handle, for example, these cylinder blocks or think about the red rods. For a 3 to 6 year old to handle a 1 meter long rod, that's already kind of challenging, no? But what you can really also use this for is that you see if there are any disabilities. If children have a hard time, they might take more time. It's good, but if they really struggle, it is kind of really a detection mechanism as well. And you can early on support them. Yeah. So yeah, I think she saw definitely everything from also her medical background. Good. I want to bridge now again to what we do with Green Steps. How to take this kind of sensorial activity concept to the outdoors, no? And at Green Steps, we try to focus on this bioregional flora and fauna. And we have done this activity, no, that we go outdoors, that we were in the park, we looked at different trees, we collected the leaves, so you can provide them the vocabulary to really describe your bioregional environment. But the same thing, age appropriate, you can increase complexity, start very easy by collecting stuff and painting or filling up those drawing books with local plants. And it also captures this sensitive phases of the human development. I just want to show now what we brought back from yesterday from the park. No, it's not here, it's here. So we were yesterday in the park. I'm just holding it up here. And we collected about 20 different leaves. And what we developed is a concept ID card where you basically have in English and in German, the two languages that we use locally, you have the vocabulary to describe it. What kind of age group do you think would this be a valuable sensorial activity?
Including the identification.
Including the identification, yeah.
probably a bit older, so like
8, 9 maybe.
Yeah,
They have to really
upper primary. Yeah. So they need to be already capable of reading. If you do it without the card and you just let them basically touch and maybe
not sure.
Hmm?
I'm not sure.
right. So there was one tree which I didn't recognize.
Mhm.
That's the one I found. It's actually a Japanese tree, but we found a lot of different shapes. What kind of shape would you say is this?
A heart.
Yeah,
The
obviously
heart.
it's a heart shape. Yeah, and with our ID card, how can we describe it? Who would like to try quickly so that we can also convey the idea to
Codate.
huh?
Codate. This one. Codate.
Yeah, chordate, so heart-shaped.
Mhm.
And what would be the margin of that leaf? You can touch it.
Jones must be serrate. Okay.
Yeah, you don't know. Maybe it's
Serrate also.
yeah, but maybe
These are not quite
yeah, I think it's
serrate. So this shape is codate. Leaf margins are most likely serrate.
Cerulate, yeah. And let's take a different leaf just to compare a bit.
Okay, this one.
I think this one. Yeah, makes it
Permate.
yeah,
Basic type.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. And the margins.
Dentate, I think.
probably
Yeah, I think too. Because
Oh, okay,
this
yeah.
one, you see, it has
Yeah,
also
yeah,
double.
yeah.
It's
No,
not, yeah.
I think
So
I
there's
just
a-
thought it looked small. Yeah, not missing.
So leaf shape is palmate and leaf margins are dentate.
Right. Good. So we have a general concept. The learning aim would be to be able to differentiate local tree species by means of the plants. No, this would be sort of the learning aim. And then we can apply so what we build with it is the bioregional identity because they really know local plants, local trees. But then we can apply this for a specific age group. No,
Mhm.
I mean, I would actually in the primary years, lower primary years, probably just do this really in a playful manner. Let them rather collect something and then do rather artwork with it. No.
Mhm.
But for the lower secondary, where I also taught, I asked children to do during one term a herbarium in biology, and the minimum objective was to collect 20 different types of leaves,
Mhm.
and then they would have the ID card, and they would have to identify each leaf with that vocabulary in their mother language, of course. Yeah, and so. Yeah, and then they would have this in such a nature journal, and they would glue one leaf inside, and then next to the leaf they would write what is the leaf shape, what is the leaf margin, and they would identify the tree species as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that was a pretty, I think, a pretty good exercise.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed doing it really good.
Yeah, you actually did it also.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. So that was lower secondary. Like that was seventh grade. I did it usually in seventh grade. Okay. Yeah. From the point of the teacher, of the facilitator, and also the roles that we have on the ARC, like the Commons, Community, and Ecoregion mentor, what we do is we offer curated learning. Because somebody needs to define what are the species that should be learned. Now, what are the keystone species in your home bioregion? That is actually 3 girls from that from one of those classes, 7th grade. So, I mean, somebody needs to think about what are the 20 trees, 30 trees in our, local environment that everybody should know. What are the 20 herbs? What are the 20 birds? It's not supposed to be turning everybody into a biologist or a zoologist, but it should give a foundation so that they can easier maybe go into that direction if they want. But it should be still kind of a fun level.
Yeah.
Right. And this is then the so-called bioregional knowledge. 3-period lesson, next chapter. It's again Adri's turn, right?
Shall I?
But I mean, do you have any questions in regard to what we discussed now, or is it good? Are we good to continue?
Shall I share instead?
Yeah, you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we're back here with the 3-period lesson. I also mentioned it before at the beginning, but I will talk again and more in depth this time about this super important concept for the Montessori method. So, but the 3-period lesson, basically, it consists on having a very different, a high differentiation between 3 phases during the learning process. Let's say, for example, let's say that we want to do an activity where we want to teach the children about, for example, numbers, or maybe some qualities like length. So the first phase should be the naming phase. And then you present the concept that you want to teach in that lesson, or in that activity, let's say. In my example, for example, if it's about numbers, you present the numbers. If it's about properties like length or weight, for example, you present them, especially or specifically naming them. The idea is also to emphasize the names so they can already start making the association. But for that, of course, the second phase is super important because it's the recognition phase. So in this phase, the children or the students have the opportunity to recognize what they have learned during the naming phase. So, for example, if we had presented, or let's maybe an easier example, the vegetables, and we have presented carrots, not paprikas, peppers, and peppers and potatoes as well. Then, for example, we take them to our garden and we tell them, now you have to show me tomatoes, carrots, peppers, and potatoes, and they have to recognize them. So that should be the second phase, and they make the association between the name and the object or the concept, better said. And last but not least, this is also super important, we need a confirmation phase. So we can check that they have made actually this association. So then, for example, we take a potato, we can go back to the class, for example, for this phase. It doesn't have to be outdoors. Usually the second phase, it is outdoors. But for the last one, for the confirmation phase, and we can bring a potato, for example, and ask, what is this? And then they have to say, of course, this is a potato. And then you confirm that they have made the association between the name and the concept that you did in the 2 previous phases. So for this, because of this, I also mentioned earlier that it's important to fulfill the process, to do the 3 phases, so it's not unfinished, and you check that the whole process has taken place. Okay, that should be the idea for the concept in general. Here you can see it a bit more in depth. The naming phase, it can be indoors, For example, in the classroom, you explain your concepts in the classroom. Important to introduce a vocabulary, as I said. Yes, it shouldn't take place a lot of time long before the actual recognizing phase, let's say, because then you risk that the children may forget the concept. It should be a bit before the second phase, which usually, or at least in the Montessori method, it should take place outdoors, and then they can recognize the vocabulary that was introduced. And last, as I mentioned, the recall or the confirmation phase. It can be back indoors in the classroom, and then you check that they made the association.
So maybe just wait for a second. Maybe also a more tangible example, because I really would like to go this curious camp with the kids to a small lake that we have in town to observe dragonflies. So to apply the 3-period lesson, we actually already have a concept ID card. No, it introduces the concept. What is a dragonfly? No, part whatever of the insects, and then you show a couple of species that they will most likely see here in this area. And once this concept has been introduced, you go outdoors to the location, and then we always bring then this concept ID card as a laminated version to the location, and then they can recognize. So I think the older the children, the less structured this 3-period lesson is, and actually the more kind of integrated it appears now. When you are still in this kind of Montessori environment of the classroom with 3 to 6-year-old children, it can be very structured, right? Mm-hmm. But when you do it outdoors, then the recognition I think it's a continuous kind of process. And then the recalling actually indoors, for me, is very much connected with the nature journaling. Mm-hmm. So again, they have the help of maybe an encyclopedia or these laminated cards, the concept cards, and they recall whatever they have observed, or maybe pictures that have been taken by drawing it. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think it makes much more sense to really look at it a little bit like this, that those 3 very distinct phases in the upper age groups, they sort of melt together again. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And then we have some guidelines as well. For example, a systematic way of presenting the names of objects or qualities of a material, individual and oral presentation using between 2 and 4 objects or qualities, presented with maximum contrast in appearance and name, includes at least 1 familiar and 2 new objects or qualities. Teacher is engaged and there is no independent work on the student's behalf, but students are invited to participate. Comparative lessons move from simple to complex, positive, comparative, and superlative. Short and intense, but child gives as much time as needed to learn the new concept. When presented in more than 1 session, teacher begins with the first period. If unsuccessful, teacher can start over, reduce objects or delay to another day. Okay, so more guidelines over here.
Yeah, so I don't think that we need to go through them, but what you should know is that if you design such an activity, you have this as a backup. It really tells you step by step what to do.
Everything that should be taken into account for these activities. And I think that should be it then.
Is this again you, or are you doing that?
No, I think I'm doing the natural journal.
Oh, okay.
But I'm trying to.
Well, then I share. Yeah, Nomenclature Cards is actually me.
I've stopped sharing.
So the Nomenclature Cards are kind of a continuation of the 3-period lesson. Can be used in the early years, but I think they become actually particularly interesting in the lower secondary. And with the nomenclature cards, basically vocabulary is introduced. And it takes the learning actually indoors. So what are nomenclature cards? They are pairing activity the original Montessori material has so-called three-part cards. So it means that you have one card where you have, for example, on birds, a picture of a bird, and then underneath the bird, the name of the bird. And the second card is a two-part card where you have the picture and the name of the bird separated, right? So the full card is actually kind of the solution. And what the children need to do is they need to match the name and the picture. Right. And in upper elementary, the students are then introduced to definition cards. So apart from name and picture, you have then also information about the species, like behavior, what type of beak, what type of bird it is. No? Yeah. Good. The concept of the nomenclature cards can really be applied to almost everything, starting from something very simple. And I think it's a nice way to apply the 3-period lesson. No, so if you have the farm animals, then this is how the cards could look like. Yeah, pig, sheep, cow, whatever. So 6 such cards. Very simple example. And this would be, again, a template on how to design a set with nomenclature cards. We even turned this into a game, Flying Friends, where you basically have the nomenclature cards integrated into a card game about birds. Right. This is a template. If you're interested to do such a nomenclature card sample, you can also just search online nomenclature cards for any subject and try to see what there is on the web. Right. And I hand over again to Adri, right? But while Adri is looking for it, if you think about it, no, we actually have it very similar in our school books, no? When you study biology, you first are introduced to a concept, but it always is with a text, right? So what is different here with the nomenclature cards is again that we use our hands. There are pieces of information about a concept moved into those single cards, and you manipulate those cards, right? And through moving around these cards with your hands, you build this concept. Do you understand this kind of pedagogical difference here? And for early age groups, this really makes a difference whether you have all the text in a book. I can just tell you, I mean, Omnium probably has a similar experience. When I was teaching here in Austria in school, and you have 2/3 of the children not speaking German at home, they're basically learning vocabulary. And even though we have simplified texts in the school books, they really struggle to get it. So what you do with the nomenclature cards is that you take out essential vocabulary. Mostly, mostly it's actually descriptive words, no? Like whatever, different types of birds, different types of animals, different types of trees. And they are able to move them around with their hands. So it makes it really much easier. And we talked today already about affordances. Each card is an affordance, of course, no? For this object.
So now we can move to the next interesting concept for the Montessori method. In this case, the nature journal. Maybe you are familiar already with some nature journaling because some people do it on their own. But here, basically, we talk about it as a kind of record for information before an activity. Of course, nature journaling can have like different objectives. But for example, some of them can be like creating art, an artistic perspective. Make a collection of specimens, just not with the specimens themselves, but with a picture or a note as well. if you're doing an observation activity, for example, it's also a great way to have a control of what you have seen and what you have done. Or maybe, yeah, you can also use it as a tiger or pilot logbook. It's interesting about what's interesting about the nature journal. Sometimes it's what's behind it. I mean, why can we do? Why do we do this? Why is it interesting to do it? And there's a very nice quote here from David Stein Rast that says, "It is not the happiness that makes us grateful. It's gratefulness that makes us happy." Yeah, basically, as you record what you see in your journal, give thanks to what surrounds you also as a way to be more aware of what you have around it and around you and be grateful for it as well. So that's more like on a spiritual level. It can be like a great tool to be aware of what surrounds you and yeah, and especially after all that we have talked about place-based learning and being in touch and aware of your surroundings can be a great tool to achieve that in that sense. Some skills and knowledge that you can get from keeping a journal, a nature journal. For example, some of them self-confidence, sorry, self-expression as well. If you try the art, you try to draw what you see. Of course, greater appreciation for nature and place. You stop and you take the time to see what's around you, to observe the small details. Sometimes that makes a really huge difference if you just stop and take a look at even the smallest thing in nature than just strolling around or walking past those natural elements and not paying any attention. Or also, of course, for example, creative and technical writing, because the idea is also not that you only draw. I mean, you can do it however you want, of course, there's some freedom in that, but also to describe a little bit of what you see, if you have more examples as well. And yeah, and this also leads us to have a couple of questions, or maybe to think about or reflect a bit on what nature actually is. It's for us. Because, for example, people think nowadays nature is only found in nature reserves and parks. And as I said, keeping a journal in nature can help you see that it's not only there, it's all around us. But maybe we can do this also like a discussion in a group, and we can talk about what nature is for us and what is not. For example, I don't know, some people consider, I mean, urban parks, for example. I would say it's part of nature because there are so many opportunities to explore natural elements there. But I know some people that say no, it's been modified by humans basically, and it's not pure nature. So I don't know, what is it for you in nature, or where do you draw the line between what is nature and what is not? What is it not? Anyone wants to contribute?
In what sense?
For example,
What nature is for us, you mean?
yes,
And
for you personally.
yeah. Like if I was to write this in a nature journal, or just like
I think in general, for example, would you consider, I don't know, your local park part of nature, or this stroll of grass street part of nature? Or for
You
it's
gave me
like,
the impression that for you it's almost like everything just north of Glasgow, it starts to be nature. And,
yeah, I think for me, I definitely appreciate nature everywhere I go. Like the parks in Vienna or the parks in Glasgow, or everywhere. I think it's all natural, and it's always a very nice place to be. But I think living in an urban area, for me, I don't get to connect with the wild places, and I think that's probably the biggest difference for what nature means to me. Is like to truly experience nature. I feel like to be in a wild area is the only place where I can see wildlife. Not the only place I can see wildlife, but the only place I can see like mammals or these kind of things. So yeah, I think nature for me is very much about kind of being in the state of flow and just kind of being very present when I'm in nature. And yeah, that's the reason why that's what, yeah.
Interesting. Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, I would definitely say wherever you go, it's all kind of, it's always a nice place to be. I think a lot of people maybe don't like the urban parks or maybe think they are not as natural, but I think even the botanical gardens are beautiful places to relax.
But you just pointed actually at why this exercise is interesting. This state of flow or being really present in wild nature, like you said, you can, if you focus, you can achieve the same thing in probably a very busy urban park, maybe just in front of your house, if you practice nature journaling, no? If you, I don't know. And it doesn't have to be like this, no? I mean, what is it? Mary told us the last time for her, it never really worked. She's not into painting. This is not her thing. She's a photographer. So she wants to really stay there, observe, and wait for the right moment to take a picture of that bird.
Yeah.
And maybe for that purpose, you need to go further away. But you can do the same thing with high concentration, also somewhere in a park, or maybe just taking a picture out of your own home.
Yeah.
So the idea here is that nature journaling is also kind of a mindfulness exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So how about you?
For me, it starts from garden. Yeah, I can give just one simple example maybe. When I visit a city, and if I don't see any kind of greenness, like a bush or a tree, I feel weird because I'm looking for it, like just for observing instead of like sorry. If I walk on the street, if I don't see trees on the street, or I don't know, if I don't hear any bird, it's completely weird and I feel aligned.
You notice these things.
Yeah. It's the first thing I notice. Especially birds. Like it's an I don't exit from reality. Reality. It sounds creative. Yeah.
Anybody else wants to share an idea, or maybe you just want to talk about your own experiences with nature journaling, if you have one, or if the concept does make sense to you. Omnia, Taylor, you want to chip something in?
I don't have a nature journal, but on my phone I collect a lot of plants. Like I have that iNaturalist app where you take a picture and it identifies it for you, and then it gets collected in this collection of species and plants. It tells you its family, and it tells you information about it. So I've been obsessed with like learning new plants in each and every country I visit or each place that I visit. So in each country, I've made it a goal to visit as many national parks as I can. So right now I'm near a national park, learning a bunch of different plants, and I keep adding more and more onto my phone, and I think it's very fun to identify them, because then I can pass by them later on and say, oh, I know that one, because I just learned that one yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then let's continue.
Yeah. Yes, also a small reflection about the maybe more of the drawing artistic part of keeping a nature journal. Many believe that natural history and scientific art would be supplanted by photography and graphs, and would be basically all the drawing and illustrations would be gone. But these are merely the extremes available to the human eye, in between and just as enduring is natural history illustration. So the small discussion or reflection that we can have here is, for example, what is the difference for you, or what would you prefer when we talk? When you have the option, for example, of photography, of taking pictures of what you find interesting in nature, as we have mentioned here already, or, for example, basically, do you prefer drawing? Do you prefer keeping your own thoughts by hand, by writing in the nature journal? What would you say it is much more convenient for you? In this sense, for example, as Knut mentioned, Mary said that for her it was more like photography, that she felt it was her medium of keeping this sort of moments and connecting with them. But for me, for example, since I was very small, like child, I really enjoyed drawing, and I actually enjoyed. I used to draw a lot about nature and natural elements, animals. Overall, yes, mostly animals, but sometimes even um, plants or other living beings. So, what is it for you guys? Is it like this? Are you more into photography in that sense, or how would you consider yourselves in this regard? More into painting, drawing?
I think it's nice to capture images when you're traveling and you're seeing nature. It's nice to kind of have something to look back on, but also to capture the photo in a way that it does capture the moment, by trying to take the picture in a certain way so it almost reflects and you felt in the moment. Like if you're looking at the mountain, but it makes you realize how significant the sky is, then you try to get the orientation so the sky looks very big and it makes the mountain look small. I think things like this are nice. But I also think it's very nice to use words to describe the moments that you have with nature, as opposed to just using like art. I think it's nice to like actually journal and write about it, similar to this, but with more words, like really good writing. Yeah, trying to get poetic, and try to think about different words you can use to describe the nature. And I think that's also I think it's a nice balance to have the two, words and then the body side.
Yeah, maybe also either or. No, we are not the same. No, we all have our different avenues. Yeah. Anybody else wants to share something? Otherwise, we continue. No, nothing burning on your tongue? Good, Adri.
Yeah, and basically you have here another example, and a quote from Vincent Carson, I think. Yeah. A child's world is fresh and new and beautiful, full of wonder and excitement. It is our misfortune that for most of us, that clear-eyed vision, that true instinct for what is beautiful and now inspiring, is dimmed and even lost before we reach adulthood. Why? What's the reason for this change in our growing process from going from children to adults, and losing this way of looking at the world that you had when you were a child, probably? Have you experienced it?
That's a great question. I was wondering why I can't see the world that I see in my childhood. It's different than me. But I have no answer.
No, it's a big question.
Think there was a research about that. I've read many years ago, and I don't remember it with very nice friend.
No, I'm just
I think you mentioned last time, and I think it would still be my answer in this case, that the way society is organized nowadays, you have to take priorities, and you have to prioritize having a good job where you can earn enough money to get a nice place to live, to be able to live by yourselves, maybe to support other family members in some cases as well. maybe sometimes you also have to prioritize, I don't know, some other education, some other, yeah, exactly. And then when you get, when of course, when you're a child, you don't have these responsibilities, let's say. And in the adult world, you have a lot of responsibilities, one after another, after another, and you have to prioritize to survive sometimes. So then you have less or even sometimes no time to take time and explore and perceive nature in that sense.
And what you say, the responsibilities is a good point. Maybe it's the not having the responsibility when you're a child, but like, you're obviously, your mind is very different when you're younger.
Yeah, but I mean, points very much again at our economic systems, no? And many children actually don't have the time to even experience childhood because of I don't know, the misfortune in which they grow up. So as long as we are in capitalism, I think there will be always a bit of problem. Okay, so that's it.
These are some recommendations, and I will start sharing them.
All right, so then we are almost done. Yeah, so I have to say I tried nature journaling. I mean, this is one of the things that I drew, and I was actually surprised that I could do that. So I really, I'm not very gifted what concerns drawing. Everybody can do it, but it's still, it's something that is shaped very early on, and I was never kind of induced to drawing. I'm also more the word person, and you need to have time. You need to have what the Romans called otium. You need to have this free time to just unwind, and that increasingly becomes less when you grow up and have responsibilities for others. Yeah. So as a teacher, and of course, the Montessori method has been developed to also be applied in formal schooling. There is always this question about order, structure, and behavior. And since we have the camps with children that are under our responsibility, we also have this very short order, structure, behavior chapter. In the Montessori environment, there's a typical day schedule. Kids go to the cloakroom, they put off their gear, whatever their clothes, as you have it in any school. But then the day starts with a morning circle usually. So it's a collective experience where you talk about what you're going to do during that day, where you also have a bit of a space to digest what happened maybe yesterday and still needs to sink in and should be shared. And then you have usually two work periods, a morning work period, an afternoon work period. But usually the second period is more relaxed and separated with lunch. Some kindergartens, of course, only last until noon. Then you have just one work period. But what is interesting also about the Montessori concept is that each work period is about 3 hours. Yeah, it's not like a 50-minute lesson. It's a longer period to prepare, sink into the activity, and get out again and wrap it up, do the full cycle of work, clean away everything again.
I think when I was in school, in primary school, it was always like we had the morning, the afternoon, and obviously the morning, and then we had our break. We would have the middle part, and then we would have the last part. But even though it was broken up into three, we still had like 2 blocks in the first lesson, and then like 2 blocks. So you were always changing between things, and it was you don't really get the same focus and flow.
Right. And I think this is a main problem that we have in formal schooling, that we have those 45, 50-minute units, right? It's very staccato. And I mean, the learning psychology clearly tells us that you need more time to get into a subject. You should work project related. And this is, I think, definitely possible with the Montessori method. And then to conclude the day, you have a second sharing circle. you digest what happened during the day. Maybe you also want to make a reference to little conflicts that had to be sorted out. And you might give already an outlook on the next day, right? And then the day is over. So this would be a full day program, right? Well, this is the picture here is actually in German, but I found it really funny. I only detected it last year. It's here in town. So playing not allowed, no. And what I mean, it's like no, playing with a ball is not allowed. Yeah. But actually somebody wrote there, it's strictly forbidden to be happy.
Wow.
Yeah. And beneath it is the official sign. The official sign says parents are liable for their children. So if you play with the ball here, it's just in a actually in the pedestrian area somewhere in St. Pölten.
So what does the English translate to German again?
The German, the handwritten is like being happy or happiness. Being happy is strictly forbidden.
Wow. And the underneath says no ball games.
No, underneath it says parents are liable for their children.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty tough.
Yeah.
Right.
In Scotland, something if you have a red sign, they would say like no ball games, and it's normally beside like a house or something. But I actually seen a lot of people really pushing for these signs to be banned in Scotland now, which makes sense because why would we discourage children from parents? Yeah.
Yeah.
You have these these things.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's mostly because the neighbors don't like to have these noises of children. Yeah, basically, and they call and they say, hey, they're being noisy.
Yeah.
They were young ones too.
Well, okay, but I mean, I think the question here is also about striking a balance, no, between structure, order, and kind of a free, unhampered development. And this is, I think, what this is also about. In the Montessori method, you don't run in the classroom. So when you're in an indoor environment, you walk, right? So the idea is to create a calm environment. So children should be outdoors a lot to actually be able to run. But if you're in an indoor environment, there is just always a high risk that you slip and you hit your head against the table, for example. So the general rule, you walk in the classroom, the running is only for the playground. The same is about the noise level. You have an indoor voice and an outdoor voice. And it really is part of this transformation normalization. You need to think really of like cities as zoos. And I mean, the noise levels in schools, here in public schools, are sometimes so high. If you are sensitive to noise, you would suffer all day, no? And just because a couple of kids just want to shout around. So there needs to be something of a common ground that makes it possible that we live together. And this is what the Montessori method also tries to establish. We did the wash handing activities, so there are kind of basic hygiene structures. You wait for a material. You do not interfere with a child that is active and focusedly working with a material. No, so you wait until it is being put back into the shelf. You put things into the place where they belong. You move tables and chairs carefully. I told you, I think one of the first practical life activities that you learn is to lift a chair and move it around silently instead of screeching over the floor. Right. Good. Then the teacher intervention. I mean, I always make it a rule to kind of, if children cannot concentrate, or you have like two kids that try to have or are inclined to have a conflict, you're telling them 3 times quietly, and if it doesn't work and you see that one of them is always kind of triggering the conflict, then you can give a student a time out, for example. And this is also what is mentioned here in a kind of escalating manner. You first gluing, you spend more time like focusing on that child. Then you redirect, you really tell that, you should do it differently. You review what has been said. And if this doesn't work out, you put time out, sitting out, or if the children or the child in question is obviously having more energy that needs to be channeled into a certain direction, you can give more responsibility. And of course, one thing that children usually detest quite a lot is if you tell them, "Okay, I gotta talk to your dad," or maybe even worse, talk to your mom. But the general rule, I think 3 times mentioning it, making it clear, and then interfering in one way or the other. You need to have such strategies. There will be always in each group, doesn't matter where, there will be children that make your day not so easy. But from a Montessori perspective, the teacher, we said, should be an invisible teacher. No, we present the material, then the children should work alone as much as possible. And the Montessori teacher is supposed to intervene only when it's dangerous, destructive, or disrespectful. But in my experience, it becomes very easily disrespectful or destructive. No, think of the Montessori mat. What do you do, for example, when a child starts to always go into the mat of the neighboring child? That's clearly disrespectful. No, so that's when you need to intervene. Any thoughts on this? Maybe from the practice, Omnia? When do you intervene? Only when there are firing guns in the room, or?
Oh yeah, always. I mean, in a situation like that, if a kid is bothering the kid next to him, I will separate them or move his desk alone a little bit. And once he behaves well again, I will put him back in the group.
Right. Yeah. So this is sitting out, time out. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think there is not so much difference. You need to do this over and over again. Tandem teaching, I think, is a really nice concept. Doesn't have to do so much with the Montessori method, but I mean, it's practiced in different kind of teaching settings. We are always in a very luxurious situation that we're usually more instructors. But when you teach with somebody, the ground rule is don't show disagreement in front of the children. Discuss it afterwards or in a break. Yeah, I think this is the very basic ground rule. But if you are teaching with somebody else, it's usually a great resource, because you can make any class more interesting. Just a change of voice, the change of attitude, the change of character. So that's definitely something that helps a lot to create also order and structure in class. Any questions about this section? No? Good. Then we wrap it up with human development psychology and nature. So I think I mentioned Professor Gardner already once. He's kind of the psychologist who did this groundbreaking research already in the 80s to say, okay, our education systems focus mainly on 1 or 2 forms of intelligence, very narrow, but actually we are quite diverse. And so he developed this theory of multiple intelligences. The question here is quite obvious. Which one of the animals do you see yourself in? Can you associate yourself with? You're the monkey?
Yeah.
You're the penguin?
And the fish.
I would have also naturally seen myself to be the fish, yeah. Kaylee, Omnia, any kind of intuitive association?
Yeah, probably the fish too.
Fish, yeah.
Maybe a monkey because I love climbing trees.
Right. So then you are in your element, because the idea here is, of course, not that we have different aptitudes talents, and we can perform different tasks with a different kind of skill set. No, so you see here this overview of the original 7 forms of intelligence that Gardner described in his first. Actually, it was a book that he wrote. But then there is an 8th form of intelligence. So now I don't let you research it, but what do you think is the 8th form of intelligence? 7 are mentioned here.
So I would have said maybe emotional, but I think it's divided in social and solitary.
Yeah, interpersonal, yeah. Yeah, I think that's very much emotional, yeah. The interpersonal especially. Anybody else?
Maybe like mentor, mentee, or teacher, student kind of learning. Like, I don't know how to explain that further, but
Yeah, I would actually add that also to interpersonal intelligence. But I know what you mean. So basically helping somebody to grow, right? Yeah. Yeah, I think I would add that also to interpersonal. Anybody else? No? Good. So it is the naturalist intelligence that he wrote an essay like 20 years after multiple intelligences. And there he defined actually the naturalist intelligence. And of course, I picked it up because it relates so much to what we discuss here, now moving the Montessori method outdoors. You can read this yourself. And I would be just interested if you find yourself in this naturalist intelligence. Let me know if this speaks to you, if this resonates with you. I mean, we are of course in a bubble, no? I mean, you participate in this course. We're in a bubble. We're all fish in the glass pot, but I still want to know. I mean, this is basically research, no? And he came up with these, criteria or traits of somebody who has a naturalist intelligence. So I'm asking you a skating question. Whenever you are done, tell me from 1 to 10, how much do you see yourself in this field of intelligence? 10 being very, very high, very much so completely, and 1, nah, not at all.
I would say like right up there.
Come again?
I would say I'm like right up there at the top. I go
Top
on-
10?
Yeah, I go on my camping trips and just try to read the landscape and everything I look at and questioning and trying to understand, and I care about it deeply and feel a strong connection to it. So I think it takes a lot of boxes.
It's 7 out of 10.
7?
Mm.
Which one of these traits, let's call them traits, character traits or aptitude traits, did speak to you mostly?
The one that catch my eye was are very interested from an early age in TV shows, videos, books, or objects from or about nature, science, or animals. And the other one was
I'd probably agree with that one too.
Oh yeah, create, keep, or have collections, scrapbooks, floats, or journals about nature.
Okay, good. 7 out of 10. Omnia?
I would say 7 as well.
7. Which of those traits did resonate with you mostly?
Like noticing the patterns, like observing. Sometimes I don't know the name of the trees or the things I observe, but I notice that if I see them in different areas, I notice them.
All right. Teddy?
honestly, I would say a 10 because there's probably not a day that goes by that I don't end up with a pocket full of plants that either smelled good, felt soft, or looked really cool. And I mean, I don't really do anything with them. I just like end up with a pocket full of plants because I just grab them along my way, wherever I go. So I don't know. Sometimes they get wilted and, dried up, and I don't know, that maybe too much information.
Okay. Adri, you also want to share something?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe I would say a 9. I would also choose very interested from an early age in TV shows, with especially books, because I even had that written in my motivation letter. I started very early to search read books about animals. I mean, yeah, basically also because of my background in education, I would say easily learn characteristics, names, categorization, data about objects, species found in the natural world. Yeah, no problem with that.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing this. Now we go back here. Again, it's kind of intrapersonal intelligence. We have here the seven other. Oh, I didn't tell you the ninth intelligence that he mentioned. There is also what he called an ontological intelligence. So people who ask big questions about life. Why do we live? What is afterlife? Stuff like this. But if you take those seven, the first seven forms of intelligence, we are always a mixture, no, a blend of different aptitudes. Can you maybe each one of you pick one more where you would give a high ranking, like from 1 to 10?
I would say for me, probably social interpersonal. This is already talking to people. Like, I'm just more than that, but
Okay, yeah, good.
For me, it's between logical, mathematical, because I love logic tests and math tests to do just randomly. And also oral, maybe. Is that connected with music? I don't know.
Ah.
Oh, yeah, music. Yeah. Music and whatever the two.
All right. Who would like to continue?
No, you go.
Okay. I think the solitary. When I want to learn something, I usually do my own research, and when any topic I'm interested in, I buy a book or just go and do my own research on it. I don't thrive much in like group projects and group study. I like to do it on my own.
This is very interesting because you're a teacher, Omnia, because how do we deal with kids that are actually
I basically have two personalities, one for teaching and one for my daily life.
Yeah.
I have two personalities, yeah.
How do you deal as a kid if you are a solitary learner and you have to go to school? It's really hard.
I've been forced to do group project, and nobody hates group project more than me. I really don't like it. Sometimes I had to take lead so I can divide the work, and I go to do my part on my own, and then I go back to the team. I can't do it with everyone. I can't do it together. I have to do my part, and then I'll be back to the group. And it caused me a lot of trouble, a lot of issues.
Teddy?
I'd like to say the same thing. I think I learn best when I'm alone or, learn in my own way. So interpersonal probably fits best with me. It was also difficult in school, especially in group projects. I would sometimes just ask to do it by myself.
Interesting. Adri, you also want to share?
Maybe for me the visual spatial. Because I don't know, I've been always kind of like a visual person, writing myself with pictures, and yeah, having a vision. Also, while studying, doing these teams to have like the visual memory,
You have good visual memory?
Yeah.
I think so, because
Like photographic memory?
not photographic,
Okay.
that's too much, but
Okay.
for me it helped really have like a mental image of
Yeah.
things to study.
That's cool. That's my number.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I hope you like this exercise. I think it's interesting to see how different we are and actually how much, let's say, our education system and our economic system tries to put us into a very narrow spectrum of our humanity, humaneness. Because what is rewarded on the labor market currently now is actually logical, mathematical, right?
Mm.
Here you can get most money. But I guess this is going to change a bit. Good. This is done. Yeah, and then a bit of a visual exercise now. We talk a lot here to conclude about the alienation from nature, how it has been culturally induced. And you could look at it, and this is how we basically look at nature since Descartes and some of those early philosophers who made a clear differentiation between the object and the subject now. So we have a complete separation between self and nature. And I want to ask you now once more a question. Look at these confusing, at this confusing slide, and tell me where you would see yourself. What is your perspective of nature and self? Is it picture 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
What would 5? How would you explain 5?
Well, I'm not going to spoil it now.
It's like you transcend yourself and you feel like you're a tree, or I'm definitely not.
No, I mean you can
not there.
you can use your own words, of course, to describe it, but you can also maybe just say, okay, where should we go as humanity? Where should we arrive if we want to have a realignment with nature?
I definitely see myself as part of the ecosystem. Like you're just, you have the individual and in the community, and then so in that sense, I would say 5. But I'm very much also an individual, so maybe closer to 3. There's definitely an overlap, but I think to say that I feel one with nature is maybe pushing it. Not yet, anyway. I'm trying to get there. I'll get there one day.
So it's 4, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
For me, yeah, I would also say 4. 5 is too much, yes.
Yeah.
But I try at least to be 4. But of course, in some aspects, it's very difficult to sometimes, especially in the society that we live, I think, to be 100% in harmony.
I'm sorry, is this where we see ourselves or how we interact?
No, it's a perspective of nature and self. So, what do you mean with where you see yourself? Probably it's both. You should describe your relationship to nature.
Like simple, I see myself as part of it, like a small part.
Right? So would you have a different kind of visualization?
Maybe like a small circle inside the big circle. Something like that.
That's a good way to look at it.
Something like that.
Yeah. It's good. Yeah. Haley?
I guess I'd also go with 5. I mean, it's good to think of yourself as like a part of nature or nature because we are. I don't know. I don't know. Explain that.
Yeah, it's good. One thing is, of course, like talking about it in an abstract manner, and then the other part is actually living it, right? And I really think that our economic system, that our education systems alienate us quite substantially. So what actually I think for most people, there is really this, and we talk about it also like this. No, we talk about nature as something being outside. How can you, respect nature? It needs to be an object then, no? The way we talk about it already in our language is rather an object, no? When we are really part of it, no? Then I think it's really a quite a cognitive shift. Maybe not even a leap. I actually started to write an essay about this because in Buddhism, there is this innate concept that you really realize that needs to be the realization that you are part of something larger, and that every action that you set has a consequence in that system at large, right? So I think it's more complex than it seems. Yeah.
Where do you see yourself?
Come again?
Where do you see yourself?
Yeah, I would see myself also rather at 4. Yeah. And you aim for 5. I also thought already about the same picture that Omnia said. There is, the yin yang symbol. Yeah. So that we are sort of like a drop in the ocean.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a nice way to look at it.
Yeah, and then from the pedagogical perspective, I think this is also a very nice picture. So if you have been alienated, and there is very clear evidence that many people have been alienated, if you have been alienated, then you need to think about mechanisms and tools and avenues to reconnect. No? And I think, for example, birding is a wonderful avenue to reconnect because you're there as the individual and you observe something beautiful as part of nature now. And so birding definitely is such an avenue to reconnect deeply with the ecosystem. But what you need to do for that is actually this slowing down, the nature immersion, the dwelling, which we also mentioned today in the morning already, no, or early afternoon. It takes time. So can you think of another avenue to connect, to realign? Actually, do you know that yoga, the original meaning of yoga also means atonement? So it's physical exercises to be atoned as an exercise. No, the Christian would pray. Or go for confessions, I don't know. And in Eastern practices, it's quite often a physical exercise, no? Birding is also a physical exercise.
That's what I was thinking, just based on the picture, birding was one of the things.
Yeah, just making here also reference to the terminology that we use behind it, no? Yoga really means atonement. Yeah. So it indicates that people have been in friction, no? The Latin word sin means that you have been cut off something. Also, same kind of idea. Religion means that you are being reconnected with something. It's so we use it from many perspectives that we have been somehow separated from something, and there are different avenues and practices that help us to become atoned, aligned. So do you have from your own experience an avenue that you want to share? I mean, you actually already did, no? You go usually to the north of Scotland somewhere, no?
Yeah.
For camping?
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I would say trees connect me to nature. When I find a tree that's climbable, I'm going to climb it. And me just sitting up into a tree actually feels like it's a feeling that I can't describe, but it's very connecting in many ways. Just being with the tree and recognizing all of the leaves that it created and the beauty of the bark and all of the ants on it and everything that lives on the tree, the moss, the lichens, it's all so fascinating to me just to like be under its shade or to just sit on the branch that it created. So it connects me to nature.
Now I understand why you're the monkey. Okay. Anybody else? Doesn't need to be, but if you want.
Well, when I was at home, from my even childhood, I always went to the garden. We had a swing. I sat on there, and it was always evenings, and you would hear every time the blackbirds singing, and that was so peaceful. Like it felt like something like yoga already. So just swinging with the breeze, the singing with the birds and stuff. Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah.
Mhm. Thank you.
For me, I'd say it's sitting by the ocean, like the listening to the sound of the waves and smelling the I don't know how to describe it. The smell of the sea, the salty smell, very refreshing. It's always like that to me. I can see the ocean from my window, but going to sit by the ocean is a completely different experience. You have to do it from time to time.
I'm definitely missing the coast being here in Austria.
Yeah.
In Scotland, I'm very close to the sea, so
That's cool.
Yeah, I miss the sea too. I live in Shanghai. Shanghai translated means at the sea.
Yeah.
wow, that's lovely.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the sea. I understand that very well. Okay. Well, thank you so much for your sharing. This is now the last slide of our course, and I also it's kind of introspective. There is an American psychologist, Bill Plotkin, which I respect very much. He writes really great books, and he actually has given up his career as being a kind of a mainstream psychologist. He founded a nature immersion kind of community, and he takes people on multi-day nature dwellings to reconnect with themselves. And I have been interested since at least 20 years into human development psychology, and he has kind of integrated existing human development psychology in this infograph. You see it with nature connection, and there is a really great interview with him that I can also share with you, where he talks about what he thinks that currently is really necessary for humanity. So his main claim is that we are stuck, even though we grow older, we are stuck in our development and we do not develop into real adults or even elders. So the elders are kind of extinct almost, and adults are, also pretty rare. And if you look at, I don't know, people like Donald Trump being running an entire nation, then he's really kind of a prototype of being adolescent now, but being an adult and being in a very powerful place. The question is, how can we move through this wheel that Plotkin describes in one of his books? So you see here, it's maybe also a reference to Native American population. You have north, south, east, west. So the east is death and birth, and then you have clockwise the birth, the puberty, confirmation, soul initiation, induction, crowning, surrender, and death. And you have here 8 stages that the human being goes through. And in each stage, you have a different task. And the final question for you, no need to answer now, is that you also find yourself, and you get familiar with this these different stages in life. And coming back to his claim, he thinks that our formal public schooling should be converted into a nature-based form of education. I found that very reassuring, actually, also for what we do here, even if we do it on a very small scale, that nature connection can help us to become more complete, more sane human beings. Maybe we then need to less, I don't know, go into faraway places if we have more nature already during our educational and foundational years. Maybe then societies are just at large more healthier. Good. With this, I would like to close the session of the course and just, yeah, to a kind of a closing circle for this session so that everybody can do some sharing. What did you like? What was novel? What was surprising? Anything that you want to share before we say goodbye. We meet again. Okay, this is also something that we want to discuss, but we meet again next week or the week after. It's still something that we need to discuss, and we need to share with you the assignments. But let's do the closing first. Who would like to start?
I don't think starting. Yeah, I enjoyed today's session. It was nice to have discussions about a lot of these personal kind of feelings we have towards nature, and it was interesting sharing our ideas about our activities at the very start. It's interesting to see what direction people take when they can get the opportunity to be creative around kind of nature education. And yeah, it was nice just listening to everyone talk about their connection with nature.
For me, all these hands-on Montessori activities are very interesting and for children, of course. And also, we went depth into these psychological points for these teaching methods. And for me, it's really, really interesting. And actually having an example on us really is very interesting for me. I liked it. I enjoyed it so much.
For me, it was also very enjoyable. Despite being on the other side, let's say, of the participation, because it's always interesting to talk about the Montessori method and linking it to our personal experiences, I would say, to have this association or connection between a concept and something that we're learning with something from your past or something that has an emotional value for you. I think it's always valuable, even though it's a repetition, but yes, like valuable.
Who would like to pick it up from Adri?
I can go. I really liked what was said today. I learned a lot about the teaching methods and the learning, I wouldn't say methods, but like the differences in learning with each individual. I think it's important that teachers or adults understand how like different people learn in different ways, and it's good to like look at those and identify which ones that we even identify with, or like how to associate with different intelligences. I really liked that. I think it's important.
Thank you. Yeah, maybe actually one of the most important things is that we understand ourselves also deeper and better. But this is not part of education, sort of, no? That you are introduced into, there are all these different types of people. What type of person are you? Knowing ourselves better, it's quite important as well. Omnia, you last. You want to go?
Okay, don't get much to say, but I really enjoyed the session today. Learned a lot, and that makes me kind of excited about seeing all that we learn applied in real life. I would like to see it and see how kids actually interaction in real life, because I've never experienced that, never seen it done in front of me, and so yeah, kind of excited about seeing applying what I learned today in the future.
Yeah, nice. I mean, I have to be quite realistic now. The sad truth, which we mentioned in the beginning, it's not so easy to implement this into mainstream
I
now.
can
So
imagine.
we have rare occasions, projects that where we have connections with teachers that we can do parts of what we want to do. So yeah. All right. Thank you so much for this. We have are really a bunch of assignments which are mentioned in the session on the ARC. These are the assignments that are recommended for you to do. A couple of nice videos where you should share a few thoughts afterwards. But the most important assignment is actually that you develop a sensorial education activity. Yeah. So I'm going to stop sharing. And the sensorial education activity, what we usually do is that next week we would try that activity. So in a peer setting, people would have an activity and they try it with a peer. And then the week after, which would be in 2 weeks, we would then actually have the sharing like we did it today, but in an online format. So we meet again and we share with each other what kind of activity we have developed. Now, since we are in this hybrid format, the idea would be that because next week we are also not here, that we meet in 2 weeks and we go directly into this online sharing like we did it today for practical life activities. In 2 weeks, we would meet directly and go into the sharing hybrid format again about the sensorial education activity. Do you think that's okay if we do it like this? Then you have actually 2 weeks to work on your sensorial education activity, maybe also do some of the recommended assignments. And we would meet again. Let me check this in the calendar. I think it is the 3rd. Is it the 3rd of July?
I think so, yes. Let me check as well. Yes, Thursday the 3rd.
No, it's the 2nd of July.
2nd. Yes.
It would be the 2nd of July. Do you think that's a good time to try a sensorial education format? Put it on the ARC, and if you haven't done with the others, then do it.
Mm-hmm.
Will there be instructions or anything on how to do it?
Come again?
Instructions like a template like last time?
For the sensorial education activity?
Yeah.
So the instruction is basically it's the slide deck that we had from today, and we will share the updated version in the folder that you already have.
But basically, the idea is, I mean, you can also share, use the same template, just taking into account that this activity should be a sensorial activity. But to put it, when you have to put it into the best practice in the ARC, it's the same sections as for the last activity, because on the best practice it's always the same compartment, let's say.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Omnia, if there are any doubts, if you sit down and start to work on it, yeah, and if there are any doubts, then please reach out to us in the group, where in the chat, and ask the questions. But the idea is really first define the learning aim. No, in a sensorial activity, the learning aim is sensorial education. In a practical life activity, it is something hands-on. Now you can also say freely, it's up to you. You can also say, I want to mix that. But the idea is really first define the learning aim. Right? And please feel free to also browse the library for inspiration, or, come up with something completely creative, and then ask somebody how to start it. Okay? So good. Then we have agreed on meeting the next time, July the 2nd, and we're gonna share, because this is it. It's the last thing. We're gonna share the sensorial activity with each other. Okay. Good. Then, hey, I wish you a great remaining day. See you again.
So,
See you.
Bye.
Bye.